Lachy Doley is the guy who plays keyboards in Working Class Man, that classic Aussie anthem written and sung by Jimmy Barnes. You know the one, I'm a working class man. Oh, that's terrible. That is terrible. You know the one I mean though, right? And he plays this for me.
Welcome to a small business marketing show.
Which is the bigger career highlight? What a great question. It's a very divisive episode 485 of the award-winning Small Business Big Marketing podcast.
Well, I said, welcome to a small business marketing show where successful small business owners share their souls to take your marketing straight to the lead. Now, here's your host, Mr. Timbo Reid.
And welcome back to your weekly dose of marketing melodies. I'm your host, Timbo Reid. You, infinitely more importantly, you're a motivated business owner, ready to crank out some great marketing to build that beautiful business of yours into the empire it deserves to be. And that's exactly why this podcast exists. But if it's not enough for you, you can also grab a copy of my popular marketing book, The Boomerang Effect, that I wrote with you in mind over at smallbusinessbigmarketing.com. Big episode today. Rockstar Lachy Doley shares the ups and downs of making a living in the music industry. I give a listener some advice they won't be expecting. This week's Monster Prize Draw winner? Well, there isn't one. I'll tell you why shortly. And I'll fill you in on next week's guest, who's a world-leading specialist on customer experience. CX is the acronym for that. As per usual, team, there's marketing GOLD dripping from the ceiling over here at Small Business Big Marketing's HQ. So let's get stuck right in. Monster Prize Draw. There isn't one this week. Why? Because you're not sending me your emails. Why? Come on. I need you to step up. Send me one idea that you've listened to from this show and implemented, what impact it's had on your business. You'll win hundreds of dollars worth of prizes. In fact, a guy who I interviewed today for an upcoming episode has donated two of his services valued at $2,000 each. Like, it's all there to be won. The Monster Prize Draw, just email me, tim@timreid, reid.com.au. So, a few years ago, this fellow by the name of Lachy Doley sent me an email out of the blue. I didn't know who he was, saying he listened to my show when touring and that he loved it so much that he'd gone ahead and wrote, sang and recorded a new intro and music bed for me. I took a listen to it and I absolutely loved it. And I've been using it ever since. It's the intro that you hear at the start of this show. It's the music bed that goes between segments. It's all the things that you hear on the show. I then rang to thank Lachy and offer to get him some work, and he politely replied that he was busy enough as he was Jimmy Barnes' keyboard player. So I had a good laugh to myself then. Now, for overseas listeners, I explained who Jimmy Barnes is during the interview. Suffice to say, he's no slouch, and neither is Lachy. In fact, he's one of the world's leading Hammond Organ aficionados. So why am I interviewing a well-established musician on this show? And why is he even listening to a show like this? I'll tell you why. Because Lachy is a small business owner just like you, and whilst he's played with some of Australia's biggest bands, I'm talking Barnesy, I'm talking Powderfinger, he also has his own band and he's constantly hustling for live gigs, to sell more CDs, to sell merch. Put simply, he's got to make a living. Now, this is a really, really honest chat in which we cover how he built his profile. I want you all to build your profile. How he manages to bring his A game to every gig. I want you to do that. Why he sent a heartfelt email to his listeners and what impact it had. Maybe you need to do that. That's a great story. Comes up later in the interview. Plus, he talks about the multitude of revenue streams he's created in order to make a living in a pretty tough industry. Now, as a wannabe rock star myself, I started off by asking Lachy to indulge me by explaining what it's like to walk out on stage to tens of thousands of screaming fans.
It's pretty amazing, I got to say. That feeling has never never died. Like I've been doing this for 20 odd years now, and there is something about, especially on those bigger gigs, when there's that many people and you get announced and you can hear the crowd. Like there are certain shows, like tent shows or some of those big arena shows, where the crowd is just so loud it's almost deafening, and there's a certain kind of energy that just fills your bones when you hear that, and then you walk up on stage and it gets even louder. And it's a pretty amazing feeling to just have that kind of raw noise just coming at you in excitement for what's to come. Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Is it I'm the king of the world feeling, or is it a feeling of nerves and, geez, I better not stuff this up? What is it?
Well, it can be like that too, absolutely. Certain gigs, high-pressure gigs, or maybe the first gig of a tour or something like that, it can be a bit of a mix like that. But that's kind of exciting too, that kind of like that adds to the whole feeling of it all, the pressure of we've got to get out there, we've got to perform, and, better not stuff up. And it's all part of it. And then as the tour goes on, I guess you get more comfortable with what you're doing, and then you can enjoy different parts of the gig and focus on that energy and the people out in the audience.
I do a bit of YouTubing of my favourite artists and backstage prior to the concert. It's kind of like one of my YouTube go-tos. And there's certain artists that get together in a bit of a huddle. They might say a little prayer. They might just have a team hug. Others might just look at, the lead singer might look at everyone in the eye and say, don't stuff this up. Can you, without naming, well, I'd love you to name names, but who have you worked with that kind of loves pulling everyone together just before you walk on, and what do they do?
Well, I think Powderfinger were the biggest for that. The bunch of years I was playing with them, that was an absolute ritual. It was that real common, like, a sports team sort of thing, where you get in the huddle and you put your hands together, and there'd usually be some silly word of the tour or silly word of the day that, and then you just shout that really loudly just before you go on stage, and just that little bit of camaraderie. Yeah.
Love it. Today's word is fruit tingles. Go, boys.
Why not? Why not?
Yeah, that's right. Have some fun.
I love fruit tingles.
I do too. You can now get fruit tingle ice cream, just, in case you're wondering.
Really? I'll have to check that out.
Yeah. This conversation is not business focused. Lockie, can we pull this together, mate? Now,
of course.
My daughter, my beautiful daughter, Stephanie, she's 19. She, highly creative soul, and she is pursuing a photography career now that she's finished school. And with me being the business focused dad, I remind her that there's a lot of poor artists in the world, and I don't want her to be one, but I also want her to pursue her creativity with a freedom. And it's a really fine balance, right? Which I'm guessing you have found in your own career.
It's a really tough balance. Anything in the arts is always going to be hard. It's going to be hard to break through, to find what is unique and special and what resonates with people in a different way to everyone else. And yeah, it is really hard. And I guess the cold, hard fact is that if your art is not exceptional, or it kind of almost, it's a struggle, no matter how hard you work and how hard you go at it and you do everything right. If the very fundamental is not there, it's essentially almost impossible to really be the artist and be the front person, be the main person of that art that's going out there. I mean, there's lots of obviously other parts of the industries, music industry, photography as well, which is different. But if you are actually the artist, it's a tricky one to know whether you've got it to stick it out and refine. And
I like what you've done, Lockie, in the sense that you have unashamedly gone, well, I'm a highly creative person. I'm a musician first and foremost. I'm an artist. But now, you're married, got a young kid, and, you got bills to pay. And you, as a result, you are working hard, and that's what we're going to talk about, to turn your art into a business and make money from it, not just through gigging, but through other sources. And I think that's awesome. I mean, you're treating it as much of it as a business as you can without kind of crossing that line into looking like you're selling out. Has anyone actually ever said to you, tapped you on the shoulder and gone, look, I used to love what you did, but I reckon you've sold out, mate?
I haven't heard it yet, no. But it can be that kind of industry where who knows what people are saying. So,
yeah, no doubt. Well, let's talk about how you got started. I know your mum hooked up with a weed smoking gentleman many years ago, and he was right into music. He got you and your brother into music. You grew up with a upright piano in the house. Is that where it all began?
It is, yeah. He was always playing guitar and playing us all this old blues music like Muddy Waters and John Lee Hooker, and we'd just jam on the piano and try and play along, and eventually we started actually doing gigs with him, and I think we sort of picked it up relatively easily, and we were both enjoying it. So yeah, it just kind of moved on from there. And then I started doing professional gigs in Adelaide when I was 15 with a band called the Blues Brothers and Sisters of Soul. The Blues Brothers. It was just like a cover band for them. And that's kind of how it all started. And yeah, it was, that's so long ago now, but it was a really amazing schooling, just being around all those older musicians and being able to learn off them and I guess just get thrown in the deep end.
Well, totally. Like 15 years old, you're doing gigs, out in pubs and clubs and things.
That's right.
By 21, you get a tap on the shoulder from someone, Jimmy Barnes or one of his people, to say, would you come and play for him?
That's right, yeah.
How'd that come about?
Well, it's one of those industries that, the way I play in particular, that old school sort of piano and the blues influences, that's kind of just right up Jimmy's alley, with all his sort of stuff and that kind of retro sound. And there weren't too many people doing that around that time. Most people were playing synthesizers and sounds, and I was just playing piano and organ, all those classic sounds.
Don't knock the synth, Lachy. I love the human league, mate. I'm a child of the 80s, so just be careful.
All right, I'll try and be gentle. I love the synth too. I got synths as well, but it's just that kind of sound, and that's sort of what he's after. And I just happened to be in the right place and the right time. I'd moved to Sydney a few years before that, and which is where he lived, and word of mouth spreads around. If they're looking, looking for someone in particular, and it's like, I know this guy. He was great. He was young. He plays exactly what you want, and yeah, goes from there.
Tell me that's like. In a business context for anyone listening, this is about getting known enough for someone of profile to approach you in your business and to partner up, which is an awesome marketing strategy. You're a 21-year-old bloke, I guess, relatively naive. But Jimmy Barnes, and for overseas listeners, Jimmy Barnes is Australian music royalty. We love the guy. And so to get asked to play for his band is significant. For you, was it just another opportunity? Did you freak out? How did you handle it?
Oh, I completely freaked out. I've never been so nervous in my entire life. The first rehearsal, I was absolutely, packing it. It was ridiculous. Because go into this rehearsal room and surrounded by all these professional musos who've been doing it all their lives, and they're all legends in their own right. And here I am, this weedy little 21-year-old guy, trying to pretend that I'm meant to be there. And it was very intimidating, and especially him back then. He was extremely intimidating as well.
Was he really? He wasn't forgiving?
No, he was forgiving. He was just a force to be reckoned with. He still is. He's just incredible. But I guess it was when I first started playing with him. If anyone's read his book, he's been through a lot, and he was dealing with a lot of issues, lifestyle issues, you might say, back then. Yeah. And I remember, I'll tell you this story. The very first gig I did was in Port Macquarie, and at like an RSL, and we're we're getting through the whole gig. I thought I was doing relatively well, and I had this stupid piece of machinery that had like a string sound in it that I had to, I had all like dialed up, ready to play, and for the intro of Working Class Man, because it's like piano and strings, and I had this machine, and it got to that point, like the biggest song, the finale of the whole show, and then I turned around and the thing had reset itself. And it was like on, bells or something like that. And I like turned around, I was like, and I'm trying to wind it, trying to find this patch, 103 or whatever it is. I'm like, And then I probably can't swear on this podcast. But
you can, mate.
He just turns around and he goes, just play the effing song. He's screaming at me. Get into the song.
Would the audience have heard that?
They wouldn't have heard it. But I remember looking over at the drummer and he was just pissing himself. He was laughing so hard. And I was,
how do you, out of interest, what was the song? Was it Working Class Man?
Working Class Man, yeah.
Can I just say, like, again, fanboy coming out, the start of that song, and for you as the keyboard player, the start of that song is just, one of the great starts of any song, and it must be such a privilege to play something like that.
Oh, absolutely. It's one of those songs that, you play the first 2 seconds of it and the crowd erupts. Just like the intro to K-San as well. It's the same thing.
Yes. Wow. You haven't got a keyboard next to you, have you?
I don't actually, no.
Oh,
damn. Plugged in anyway.
Tell me, Lachy, again, bringing this back to business, you have to bring your A game, as we all do. Many of us kind of, we slacken off every now and then, but when you've got an audience of thousands of people and when you've got a boss like Jimmy Barnes, or for that matter, you've also played with Powderfinger, Billy Thorpe as well. I mean, these are A-list musicians and celebrities in Australia. How do you bring your A game when you've had a bad day, you're feeling off colour? What's the trick there?
Oh, it's I think it's just having the confidence in your ability. Yeah, and you don't get to that point and to do those gigs if you can't handle it. There are definitely times when I've had horrible days and I've been incredibly hungover and various other things like that. And
rock and roll, baby.
Well, yeah, I mean, I used to be young.
yeah, that's right.
And it's just, you have to get the job done. And if you can't do it, there's a million people, waiting who want that job, I tell you. Yeah,
well, that's incentive. Are there a million people waiting for your job? Because you do play quite a niche instrument in the Hammond organ. And what's the other one? The
whammy clav, yeah.
The whammy clav.
Well, the whammy clav has only come into the scene in the last 8 years, I think. So right at the start of when I've been moving away from being a session muso or a contract musician for Jimmy Barnes and various other people. And the whammy clav, there aren't too many people playing that, that's for sure.
So you can slacken off, mate.
I can't, but they're coming up now. There's a couple in the US now playing it, and it's starting to get noticed. I suppose I've popularized it around the world, and now there are a few more people.
Yeah, that's awesome. You're a listener of this show, Lachy, and I talk a bit about profile, and as business owners, large or small, we really need to work on building our profile of our business, our products, our services, but also our personal brand. You've been lucky again. No, not lucky. I mean, you've orchestrated the fact that you've been able to work with Jimmy Barnes and Powderfinger and these other bands. Can you remember the point in time when you've kind of looked back and gone, okay, my profile is at a level now where maybe I can call the shots, maybe I've got the confidence to do things that previously I couldn't have, and in fact you ended up stepping out and being a musician and a band leader unto your own. So can you remember that moment?
Yeah, definitely. I was playing with a huge Australian band called Powderfinger, one of the biggest bands in Australia, and they were doing their farewell tour, and I've been playing with them solidly for like 4 or 5 years. And it just finished an epic tour. And there was kind of nothing really in the books for me after that. I'd put so much time and energy into playing with them that when that was coming to an end, there wasn't really, I didn't have any work booked, you know. Jimmy had obviously had other people playing for him and so on. And I was so inspired by that band and their work ethic. And they were a huge democracy, and they were always doing meetings. They were just onto it. It was really amazing to see how well they actually worked in a business sense, as well as a performance and as, original recording artists. And I guess I took a lot of that away and was inspired by it as well, that I thought, damn it, I am gonna start writing more of my own tunes, and I'm going to actually record them and bugger it, I'm not the greatest singer in the world, but I'm going to sing them as well, and just see what happens. See if I've got something there, and see if I enjoy it, and see if I can make it happen. And that's how it all started. And I went pretty hard from the get-go. I was pretty determined to at least really see it out and see if it would have some legs. And it's changed in so many ways over the years, my picture of what I actually do. But I feel like it's really it did discover itself after a few years, and then it's been going really well since then.
Lachy, I remember getting an email from you probably 5 years ago. And it was awesome. I didn't know who you were at the time, and what you'd written for me in terms of the intro and the outro and recorded and sung and all that was just like, wow, this is amazing. Indulge me and tell me about the moment you found the Small Business Big Marketing show. I think you were in a tour bus and pulled into a 7-Eleven or something, weren't you?
Yeah, I was actually on my lonesome in my van. I had a little Volkswagen, little white caddy van, those little bread vans, and I had all the gear in the back, and I'd just gone to Adelaide to do some shows, and I used a pickup band, and I was on my way back and just driving, the long road back to Sydney from Adelaide, and I kind of pulled into a servo in Tailem Bend, if anyone knows where that is. It's a little place outside of Adelaide, and
the answer is no.
No. And I thought, bugger, I'm just going to. There's got to be something I could do on this trip other than just listening to music. And I love listening to music. And I thought, so I just started mucking around, looking at podcasts. I thought, all right, what can I do that's sort of going to maybe possibly I could learn something on this trip. Mm-hmm. And I thought, yeah, maybe I'll check out some marketing podcasts. And I didn't really find anything until I came across Small Business Big Marketing. I'm like, man, that sounds like the go. And I turned that on, and it's this crazy Timbo with his other crazy mate, or not so crazy mate, Luke, chatting about all things marketing. And they were like, I remember one, there was like how to get more people to your event. And that's me, better listen to that one. Yeah. And then I just started I listened to it the entire 15 hours back to Sydney, just listening to the dulcet tones of you fellas.
Yeah, I love it. Well, you sent me a note recently, just as we were sort of doing some research on putting this episode together, and you said, after that I looked deep into myself to focus on what makes me special and different to everyone else out there, which is great learning in itself. You were starting to identify, what do you stand for, and what's the Lachy Doley brand, what is that all about? And you said you also decided to put your unique personality into everything. Once you saw the light, everything became easier. My musical direction, content, business decisions, everything became easier. Again, that moment when you've gone, okay, Powderfinger's done. I've really got to get serious and fill the pipeline, fill the funnel with business. What was your first business move?
Oh, my first business move, I guess, was setting up the website and all the social media platforms, and really trying to build my profile, I guess, online. Just seeing that was the way the kind of world was going, and I suppose I realized the video was, the one thing I really wanted to do. I knew more than anything else that I wanted to play live. That's what I wanted to do. That's what I enjoyed doing. I enjoyed performing. That's what I was best at. And I thought, well, the best thing I can do is actually do videos of me playing live. I mean, if you want to book someone, you know, you can listen to their album, but the album tells you nothing. You know, it just tells you, oh, I mean, that's what they like, and maybe they can pull that off live. But if you want to book someone for a show or an event, you know, you want to be able to see them in action doing that exact thing. So I very quickly just thought, right, that's it. I'm gonna spend some money and actually record my live shows and do them well, multiple cameras, get the audio, and luckily I had the skills to mix them, and I learned how to edit the videos myself. And I guess it's probably still the biggest part of my marketing is videos.
Well, it's content marketing.
Yeah.
It's classic content marketing, isn't it?
Exactly. And it's that putting it out there and then letting people find it and share it, and then hopefully they will come to you with offers and opportunities, and that's pretty much the way it's worked. And I've just refined my videos. I've kept doing them. I've gotten better at them, and I've worked out what works in the videos, and I've been really lucky to have some videos go viral, you know.
I'm always interested in viral. Could you put it down to anything? Because everyone wants something viral. We want a viral podcast. I want a viral episode of this show. You know, we want viral video. And I've interviewed some people about viral videos. No one can really. There was one guy, Tom Dixon from the Willett Blend, who has these blenders where he blends iPhones and stuff, and every time he does a video, it goes viral. But can you put your finger on why your videos went viral?
I think it's because, well, put it this way. I had this tune called Downtown Small Town, and I had a video of it from start to finish. And this is back in 2015 from a festival. And it did okay. People enjoyed it, and I got lots of comments, and it was nice. It was doing its thing. And I thought, I don't know how I heard it somewhere that, most people only watch the video for like 10 or 15 seconds, and then, they might like it, but, everyone's busy and they move on. And I thought, damn it, no one's actually getting to my solo. And my solo is kind of the way I solo is one of the most unique things about me. And I think that the way I solo, no one really solos quite that way. And it's very interesting. And it's, and I thought, well, no one's even getting there. So I thought, bugger, I'm just going to make a video, same video, but just of the solo. And I put that on there, and then that all of a sudden went crazy. Just musicians after musicians were sharing it all around the world. And that was the first video that really put me on the map. And then it was like an epiphany. It was like,
that's the classic learning. I had Richard Stubbs on, the great Australian comedian, a couple of years ago, and it was an interview about interviewing, because I think he's one of the great interviewers. And one of his best bits of advice was always lead with your best stuff. He said, don't keep it hidden, because, you are assuming that people are going to hang around till the end, and they're not. We have short attention spans. So he would just always lead with your best stuff. And that's kind of what you learned, I guess.
I totally agree with that. And on so many levels as well. It's like, even with my mailing list and my incentives for people to get on the mailing list, very early on, I started with, I'd set up the whole system to capture emails, and I was giving away a free 4-track EP, so 4 songs, and like one was a B-side, and I thought, I'll put on these ones that maybe aren't my best ones or are a little bit unique, and then they'll go and buy the stuff I'm really proud of, the albums and that sort of thing. And that did okay. And then I just thought, well, if this is going to be their first sort of introduction to me, listening to these songs, why would I want to make that kind of my stuff that I'm not most proud of? Why wouldn't I want to make that the best stuff, the stuff I'm most proud of that I think is the best, and have that as the free download? And that's what I've done ever since. I've got like 12 tracks, and I call it the best of Lachy Doley, and I seriously mean it when I say it's the best of what, if I was to put out an album called The Best of Lachy Doley, that's exactly what it'd be. And it's like,
is that what you're giving away as your lead magnet on your mailing list?
It is, yeah.
Wow.
Absolutely. Not a physical copy, just digital.
No, I get it.
But, yeah.
I get it. So it's your top 12 best songs
Yeah.
And if I go to LachyDoley.com.
Yep, LachyDoley.com and that free 12 EP or something like that. Yeah.
That's awesome. And that's really, I mean, can I ask how many are on your mailing list?
11,000.
That's awesome. And as a result, so you're building a really good mailing list. They're getting something of high perceived value. That marketing equation of give something away of high perceived value to the recipient at low cost to you, the business owner, which I would argue that 12 of your best isn't low cost. Tell me about it. It brings up the idea, the concept of giving away your ideas. You're an artist. Ideas in the minds of the public are cheap. We don't necessarily value them. Do you ever struggle with that idea of giving away your music?
I do, yeah. And I think, I dare say I've gotten past that now, especially with the age of streaming and all of that. But initially it was a big, I've worked so hard. I've put so much money and so much heart and soul and everything into this music, and I'm just giving it away. But I soon realized that what I'm really passionate about is performing live. And that's what what it's all about for me, just being able to get on stage and perform my live and have that connection with the audience. That unfortunately is probably not like this for everyone, but in a way I think about my albums more as a business card or, and that it's a bit sad, definitely, because it's not the golden era of selling millions of records, but it's a real, I suppose I just have to be real about things. And that's the way I can best use my music, is to help me play in front of more people. And with the way social media is these days, I can become closer to those people that have heard my music or have seen me, and, they become advocates, and I'm much closer to them. And I think that grows the whole Lachy Doley brand in such an incredible way. And, I'm just and the opportunities come from that.
I want to talk about social media and the importance of it to your brand in a minute, Lachy. Just indulge me and tell me, help me here. How do musicians make money these days? I don't like Spotify. How does Spotify pay a musician? How do you get paid for your song appearing on radio? And, what's the split between, live takings? I went to U2 twice last week. I did a bit of looking into it. They're averaging $6.3 million a gig in terms of, ticket sales and merch. I mean, I imagine the expenses are pretty high too. But so how do you guys make money these days?
Well, I'd say it's diversity, really. For someone at my level, it's definitely diversity. Live performances, if you do have an audience, are probably the easiest and best way, just straight up to earn money. Spotify and all the streaming platforms, people they get a really bad rap from so many people, but they're here to stay, and there's no question about that.
Do they pay like a 0.00000%?
Well, I get like 16,000 streams a month or something like that, and I end up with about $100 a month or something. It's definitely not much, but it's just one of those avenues, as well as like YouTube monetization, all those sort of platforms and that kind of streaming sense. You get a little bit, but not much. It's more about, I think of Spotify as the new radio. It's more discovery. It's people. It's actually a really good platform for discovering new music, and it's broken a lot of new bands, and who are now playing massive venues. Playing sold out venues all around the world. So yeah, it's a double-edged sword, that kind of thing. But I guess the ultimate goal is that you win them over, and then they'll have enough of a connection to you as a person or as a band, as an artist, that they'll want to buy your CD, they'll want to buy your vinyl, they'll want to buy your T-shirt, and it's as soon as you put out anything, they'll just get it because they want it. It's you're not kind of selling the music anymore. You're selling, I don't know, I guess you're selling your brand and whatever comes with that.
Lachy, just want to finish on the mailing list too. I thought it's really interesting that when you do go to sign up for your mailing list, you've got 4 questions that you ask people before they hit the submit button. What are the questions and why do you do that?
Well, I used to just have just the email, just bam, email, there you go. Much less stuff to get through. And my conversion rate was definitely higher.
No doubt.
The reason I changed it to city and country is because I need to be able to target those people because they're from all around the world. And I need to be able to know exactly where they live because I don't want to bombard them with, hey, come to my gig that's on the other side of the world.
Yeah.
And it was a bit of a trade-off. And I've messed around with a few different ways of, like contacting them afterwards when they're on the list and asking them what city they're in and doing that stuff. And just all the time that takes, I guess doing it that way. And I eventually just decided I'm going to put all the questions in there. And I've also got another question about being a keyboard player, which that in turn, that then sends them off to another funnel about my tuition courses, basically.
Yeah, love it. So you so you're building a list, but you started geo-targeting that list so that when you are in a city, you can only email the people on that list, and that's nice and personalised. But you've also got another offering. So, you've got come to my gigs, listen to me on Spotify, buy my CDs, but then you've got this course, which I love the fact that you've done this. Tell us about that and how all that came together.
Well, I play a Hammond organ, right? It's an organ from the 60s, and, it's on all the classic sort of like great Woodstock sort of vibe recordings and all that psychedelic stuff, and then all country. It's a classic instrument, and it's a very niche market of people who play the organ or who appreciate the organ. And through social media and my videos, my profile as like a top Hammond organ player in the world has really grown, and people keep asking me about tuition and courses and things like that, and I'd always try and help them out, and give little tips. And eventually I thought, bugger it, I'm just gonna, I'm not a teacher, I've never taught anything in my life, but I've got some stuff that I know that no one else does, and they want it. And I thought, well, bugger it, I'm going to do it. And
it's an e-course?
Yeah, it's on teachable.com. And it's just me basically going through everything that I think is unique about the way I play. And I just set up hired out a studio, set up the organ, had multiple cameras on all the sort of things I wanted to highlight. And it cost me about $5,000. Took me 5 days to record. Probably took me a lot longer than that to edit up. And it's been one of the best things that I've ever done. Absolutely. It's managed to bring in just I've been selling them for on an average of about $400 US, and over the last 2 years I've sold over 100 of them.
That's awesome.
Just that kind of income that's just straight. There's no middleman. There's no a little
that's
bit
right.
to the Teachable platform, but nothing else. Just just putting in that work up front. And now I guess it's very passive. The only thing I do is like to try and update a little bit, and maybe in a couple of years' time I'll redo a few modules or add a few modules and things like that. But essentially, I can just market that now to the people who click I'm a keyboard player on my mailing list. I've got a bit of a email funnel, I suppose. I talk to them about keyboard stuff on various emails, and then do a very soft sell, maybe the 5th or 6th email down. And
you mean soft sell as in tainted love?
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of synth.
yeah, that's right. The absolute synth song of the 80s. I think that's awesome what you've done with that course. And as you're talking about it, and you and I have spoken off air previously about Mike Johnson, the guy I interviewed a few years ago, who's got the Drum Academy.
Yes, that's right.
Mike's a bit of a drumming legend I don't know can't remember what his background was, but he's gone and created these e-courses, which is, I know, is making him, seven-figure income ongoing. I feel like, and you tell me if I'm wrong, but if I'm right, is it what's stopping you is that you could blow that out to something much bigger. You've sold 100. That's awesome. You've made, 40 US with a sunken cost up front, but now it's passive income. I would have thought, you could sell a whole lot more if you, I don't know, put some social media dollars behind it. But also, those 100 people, I would imagine, assuming the course is awesome, they've done it and they've gone like, I want more of Lachy. So why couldn't you create some kind of online membership where, and I think this is what Mike did, where, you're putting a little 3-minute lesson in once a month and you're answering their questions and you are interviewing other people and putting that content inside the forum. I don't know. To me, is that just way overwhelming, feels like too much work, you just want to play live, or am I off track?
No, you're pretty much right on the track there. Yeah, I mean, I did think about that when I first set it up, and I know a lot of people have had great success doing that, and it's awesome, but I did realize how much I would have to invest after I made that course, and I was going, do I have it in me? I'm so busy trying to organize shows around the world and tours and record and write new stuff and grow the social media and record the videos. I thought, do I really have it in me? I can be a bit of a stress head at times. Like, I certainly get anxious about deadlines and things like that. And I guess I didn't want to add that pressure and that feeling of me letting down the people in the group and thinking I'm not giving them enough value and I'm not present enough for their ongoing subscription, I suppose. And I just thought, I'm just going to make it a little bit easier on myself. And if later down the track I feel like that's a good thing, then I'll most certainly do it. But for that point in time, I was like, no, I'm just going to make this a one-time thing, and those people will still be my fans, and maybe one day I can put another course out, or I can change it to a subscription or something. Yeah. I can talk from experience there, and I feel your pain around that. I had the Small Business Big Marketing Forum for about 3 years, and my promise was that I'd be in there every day answering listeners' questions, and I got to a membership of about 200, and it was great. And actually, part of me still wishes I had it, but I wasn't in there. I got really busy with speaking and other things, and I wasn't in there every day, and I felt that pressure. Stupidly, it was a pressure put on by me. No one was emailing me saying, hey, Timbo, where are you? You're never in the forum. Because what happens is your fans, and in my case, my listeners who were members, were starting to talk amongst themselves, hold each other accountable, push each other along, share ideas. And you can stand back because you are the conduit, you're the connector. You don't have to be the constant facilitator. Yeah. I think that's fantastic that it could get to that point. That's exactly what you want. You want all the people in the group to feel like a community and to be helping each other, and it just have a life of its own. Yeah. I guess if I could guarantee that was going to happen, I would have done it for sure.
How's your cash flow management going? It's certainly not my strong suit. For the first few years of business, I thought my accountant told me to spend more than I earned. Got that wrong, didn't I? Fortunately, American Express business cards are built specifically with business owners just like you and I in mind. Their cards can be used to pay for everyday business purchases, helping you manage your business's cash flow whilst earning rewards along the way. Both their credit and charge cards provide up to 51 days interest-free reward points that you can convert to travel, gift cards, or pay down the balance on your card. Plus, some of their cards are tailored for you to earn Qantas or Virgin Australia points directly. Gotta love that. We all need a bit of a holiday, I reckon. To find out more and get your cash flow under control, Google Amex Business after the show. We're chatting with Lachy Doley. He is a Hammond keyboard playing legend, all-round good guy, and
Stop it.
And what? Stop it.
Yeah.
Yeah, blushing, right? Yeah. Now, we have our chat so far, Lachy. You know, we got a great mailing list. You got an e-course. You're playing to hundreds of thousands of people around the world. You know, you're a total rock star. However, it's not all a bed of roses. You had a low moment in 2016 when a tour that you banked on literally was cancelled, days out, and that left you high and dry. And I remember in 2016 getting an email, because I'm on your list, getting an email and reading it and going, wow, this guy that I thought was smashing it, who must live in just some incredible house in Miami, you know, just with lots of bling. No, I didn't actually think that. But he's just written this email to his list saying, guys, I'm really under the pump and life is not good. Tell us about that moment and what that email was all about.
Yeah, well, it was one of the hardest emails I've ever written. It came at a time when I was just about to go overseas for 6 weeks, I think it was, with Glenn Hughes, who was the bass player and singer in Deep Purple Mark III. And, yeah, it was going to be a big European tour. And, yeah, just days before I was going to hop on the plane, I got an email saying that it's all been cancelled. It's not happening. And there was no chance of any cancellation fee or anything like that. And it was basically just bad luck, which was a horrible, horrible email to get. And I was already banking on that money, you know. It was only recently that I had my child Dash and we had a new house, and I guess things were tight, but I knew that money was coming in and it was good money. And obviously I'd turned down everything else over that period. And so when that came, I just remember being at my computer, feeling incredibly sorry for myself and angry as well. And it's probably not the best time to write an email. But I started writing this email because my social media does have that perception, you know, and to a certain extent, it's not a bad thing to look like you're doing well and everything's great, because I mean, no one wants to hear about you being down and out over and over and over again, and they tune in because of the interesting and exciting things and experiences I get to do doing what I do. And yeah, I wrote this email and I was just extremely honest about where I was at and being able to, the amount of work and the amount of time and passion and soul I put into everything I do, and taking the role of being a manager, a video editor, a producer, booking agent, travel agent, just tour manager, just so many roles that you do when you're running the whole show yourself, and just being honest about how much time and money that took and where I was at.
It was like, I remember ringing you after reading. I'm like, man, A, is this guy okay? And B, I wanted to sort of congratulate you for being so open. And I mean, and you know, again, because ego could easily stop you from doing it. It's like, oh, I can't.
Yeah, that's right.
And side of me.
And maybe a few hours later, I might not have even pressed send. I don't know. It's
what happened?
Well, it was amazing. I basically ended. The timing was that I'd been working on this album, the new album, Love Light, at that period of time, and I was basically just at the end. I was just saying, you know, like I would, you know, would you consider, you know, pre-buying the album, and that would at least go some way to helping where I am at the moment and give me some income. Like, if you were planning on buying it, could you pre-buy it, basically? And that I probably got an 80% response, like reply rate to that email, and which took me forever to get through, but I made sure I replied to everyone who replied to me, and the amount of people that pre-bought and the amount of love that I got back, and the amount of people who were the same as you, like, oh wow, I had no idea that it was like that, and I guess the connection that grew from those people that replied back to me, I think just became super strong. And I see a lot of them now when I do gigs. I quite often they'll come up to me and they'll talk about that email still and ask how things are going. It was just what I needed, and I'm so glad I did it, and it helped so much. Yet it was horrible, and I still cringe a little bit even thinking about sending it now.
I get it.
And but it was that moment in time, and it put me back where I needed to be, and it revitalized me, and it saved me as well. And I got through that, swearing that I would never ever have to write an email like that again. And luckily I haven't even been close to writing anything like that. Things have been really good the last couple of years, so I'm very thankful for that.
Well, it's awesome. And thank you again for that email, and thanks for sharing that story, because I can imagine there's still probably a cringe element to it, but you do it again, and that's awesome. And I'm guessing the learning for other business owners listening is, be transparent, be honest. Wear your heart on your sleeve. I don't think you can't wear your heart on your sleeve all the time. It wears thin. But
that's right.
It's a strategy to be used when the time is right. And what I've found is that there are always people out there willing to help. No one's alone. Business is lonely. Small business is particularly lonely. But there are always people out there willing to help. To that point, Locke, who in your life, I'm guessing your wife, but who do you have as support and business mentor? Is Barnsey that? Is there someone else out there?
I actually, probably one of my best friends. His name's Kieran. He came along a few years ago just as a fan, and it's been interesting over the last few years. We were always talking, and he was just, it's hard to say. He just loved what I did so much, and was so passionate about, I guess, my music and doing what's right, and trying to build it into something. And he's kind of turned into my best mate, and he's also been an investor, and he's my shoulder to cry on as well when a lot of that stuff goes haywire. So apart from my incredibly supportive wife who deals with me being away from home and on tour and for so long, which can be really, really, really hard. And I'm really trying to change things and find the right balance there. But I think on a business side,
is that about making enough dough so that you can take your wife and kid with you, or you just want to tour less, play locally?
I want to tour less, but play better, like better shows,
bigger shows,
bigger shows, away less. And yes, I do want to be able to afford to take them with me. That's my prime goal for this year, is to be able to do that. And I think that's going to work out. I've just got to learn to be a bit, I guess we've just got to learn to say no to a few things, a few opportunities that I maybe don't necessarily have to do, be a bit more, I've got to work out the right balance of what's the most important thing to me, and where, and family obviously is the most important thing to me. And I've got to balance that with my career, and I'm still working it out. I've got to say it's really hard, because being on tour, everything stops. Like, you're traveling, business just goes, and you're just touring. You're traveling, you're sound checking, you're gigging, you're exhausted, and off to the next place. And that could be for 3 months, and pretty much the business side of things just kind of stop.
But it's a classic example. I mean, that is just classic small business conundrum where, whether you are a musician or a plumber or a chiropractor, you are flat out working in your business, I would argue wrongly, and never get time to look up and work on the business and get that away day, or get that planning day, or get an opportunity to kind of speak to some people and get their views. So, I mean, a big challenge. I imagine, in your industry, it gets amplified. Excuse the pun, amplified. Yeah, it's clever. But it gets amplified because of the nature, it is. I don't know. It's a different industry. It's a good industry, but very different. And I would add merchandise. Clearly, you need some merch, Lock. You got merch? That's just another revenue stream.
It is. Yeah. I've been a little bit slow on certain parts of the merch. I do have on-demand merch. I've had that for a long time, which is great. I've used a few different sites over the years, Teespring, and now I'm using Printful integrated with Shopify, and which seems to work out quite well. So, there's a whole bunch of those things. I think I remember you talking about doing an interview about Teespring, and that might have been where I first heard about it. And, so I hooked all that up, and they do much more than T-shirts. All those sites kind of do much more than T-shirts these days. So I've got a bit of that going on. Yeah. And I'm dabbling with a little bit of affiliate merch as well on my website. I've got a few things that link up to products that are kind of related to what I do, or products that I use, gear and pedals and things like that. And but as far as taking merch on the road, I've just always been trying to travel light, and I haven't worked out the best way to do that yet. But that is definitely a huge money spinner, especially for a lot of the bigger bands. T-shirts.
I can imagine.
You see the concert, and then all you want to do is, you're on such a high, you just want to take a bit of that concert home with you, whether it's part of a CD or a T-shirt or a DVD or
my kids
trinket.
There's a number of ways I annoy my 3 children, Lockie. One of them, though, is steeped in history where, went to heaps and heaps of concerts growing up as a teenage boy in Melbourne, from REM to Midnight Oil to Dire Straits to, dare I say, Spandau Ballet. And I had a T-shirt from every concert, which subsequently became something I would wash my car with when I first got a car, and then I threw those T-shirts out. Now those T-shirts, I know, mate, I know. They'd be worth bloody, they're good money. Plus my kids would want to wear them because, retro's cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I try and get a T-shirt from every festival that I play around the world. So, and I just keep them sometimes I wear them, but I mainly just try and keep them in the drawer, and as a memento. In maybe 20 years' time, I'll have this epic drawer of festival T-shirts that I played.
I've got to say though, festival T-shirts are pretty cool, but I looked at the U2 merch last week. Not awesome. You wouldn't wear it. You just look one of those big, oversized dudes who wear band T-shirts and jeans and as my kids call them, junners, which is that's cross between joggers and runners or something. I think.
No, well, I think with any T-shirt, you got to think about, that's got to be the first thing on your mind is would someone wear this if it wasn't a band T-shirt? Would you be like, I want that T-shirt, even if you had no idea who the band was, and then you put your band on there, and you'll do all right.
Very good acid test. Hey, Lockie, great chat, mate. I knew I was going to enjoy this, and it's been everything and more. I'm getting a little bit teary, so I'm going to have to wrap things up.
I'm a bit teary too. I've been listening to you for, what is it? It's got to be 8 years or something.
Yeah, it's a while. I said 5 years earlier, but I think it might be well before then.
When I started listening to you would have been about 8 years ago, I think.
Yeah, right. And the audio was pretty average from memory too.
That's all right though. Things progress. You got to.
Well, you got to start somewhere.
Yeah, you do. You can't let that stuff stop you.
No. So now, where are people going to find you? There? First of all, they're going to go to Lachy Doley. Now I'm going to spell that LACHYDOLEY.com. Everyone's going to sign up to your newsletter, and everyone's going to buy your course, even though that means you don't want to play the organ. Because
right.
it's just good to see how other people go about creating e-courses, right? You don't have to be interested in the content.
Exactly, yeah.
You got some gigs coming up. It's sort of pointless, but podcast is not very date sensitive. But I know Barnesy's got a tour coming up. I'm guessing you're on that.
Well, we just finised that tour actually. So
isn't he playing in Britain? I think it's Chisels. Cold Chisel are playing.
Chisel, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Not part of that, I suppose.
No. It's still the original, all the original guys in that band. Well, apart from the drummer, but yeah. I mean, the best way to find me, put any dodgy spelling of Lachy Doley into Google, whatever you think sounds even close, and you'll find me.
You'll find him. Buy his music. Check him out on Spotify. Awesome music. Lachy, thank you, buddy, for being a supporter of the show and for sharing what I think is not only a great story of art, but crossing over with business. So well done, mate.
Oh, my pleasure, Tim. And thanks so much for having me. Seriously, is an absolute honor. I mean, the amount I've got out of your podcast, the motivation, the ideas, the inspiration, it's totally priceless. Thank you so much, man.
What a solid bloke. Pretty honest discussion too, huh? If you'd like to see that email that we were talking about, head over to smallbusinessbigmarketing.com/485. In fact, here's just a small excerpt from it. The subject line read, "Here's the honest truth about my career and family." And just one little paragraph from it, Lachy says, and I quote, "Playing with Jimmy Barnes has pretty much gotten me through these years. The Lachy Doley Group has only cost me money, like lots of money. And that's not even mentioning the time I spend working on it. I mean, I've been working my fucking ass off every spare second I've had for the past 6 years and to get it to where it's at, and it's taking its toll on my family, myself, and my mental health." Close quote. Pretty honest, huh? By the way, Lachy is available for private parties and business functions, so go ahead and book him. He's awesome. There's so much to love about how Lachy's going about his business, so here's what grabbed my attention. Attention grabber number 1. I love Lachy's honesty and transparency, which kind of raises the question, when was the last time you let your guard down in front of a customer, employee, or supplier? Or would you even dare do that? Interesting question. Love to know if you have. You can leave a comment in the show notes. Attention grabber number 2. I love the fact that Lachy has multiple revenue streams, including an e-course. He's got, printed merchandise on demand. He's got a lot going on. And I've linked to both of those revenue sources in the show notes so you can actually see what he's doing. And attention grabber number 3, I love the fact that he's segmenting his email list when people sign up. Very clever, so you can make differing offers to them. That would be called target marketing. That's what grabbed my attention from my chat with Lachy. Whatever grabbed yours, be sure to block out some time and implement it. Right now, I have a listener question from Steve Hugler. I don't know, but his business is giraffe.com.au. Good name, I like it. Good domain. Really sticking his neck out to get that. Now, thank you very much. Now, Steve says, "Hey Timbo, over the last 16 years, we've grown steadily from 1 to 10 full-time staff, yet we've been in the fortunate position where we really haven't had to do much marketing or advertising to bring in work for my graphic and web design business, Giraffe Visual Communication Management." That's what he does. "The lines between graphic designer, marketer and business strategist are now very blurred. So listening to your podcast gives me lots of valuable marketing tips and tricks to pass on to our clients." That's awesome. You're applying them to your business and you're passing them on to your clients. They're going to think you're like incredibly smart, Steve. However, he says, being based in Canberra means that the majority of our clients are federal and local governments, national associations or not-for-profits. So my question is this: have you come across some great marketing ideas that we could use to market Giraffe to these types of institutions, keeping in mind that our typical client is not allowed to follow us on social media, receive gifts, or even subscribe to EDMs? Steve Hugler, giraffe.com.au. It's an interesting question, Steve. I've got 2 answers for you. First part is approach local governments, national associations or not-for-profits in other states if you're not already. And I would take a listen to episode 483 where I interviewed Stu Hynek, which was all about how to get a meeting with anyone. There were some awesome strategies and tactics around that. So I don't know whether you're stretching your wings beyond Canberra and the ACT, but if you're not, probably be a good idea to. Now, my other answer is I think the more interesting approach to growing your business would be to ask yourself this killer question. What types of industries outside of the ones you already deal with would benefit from your services? Okay, so thinking well beyond the square. Now, once you've got that list, then list the top 20 businesses in each industry and apply all the marketing learnings from the past 485 episodes in order to get in front of the key decision makers in those businesses. I think you might surprise yourself. Steve, thanks a lot for the question. If you have some success, let me know. Before we wrap things up, just a reminder that you'll find plenty more where this came from, plus my entire archive full of ideas to grow your business is over at smallbusinessbigmarketing.com. If you're getting value from listening to the podcast, please share it around. Next week, we catch up with a fellow who's a world-leading expert on creating amazing customer experiences. Great chat we have there. This podcast was presented by me, Timbo Reid, produced by Matt Dwyer. Until next week, thanks for tuning in. So appreciated. Now get out there and take action.